Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you very much indeed for joining us today. My name is David Bruff. I'm the editor of Jewellery Outlook, a digital magazine, and I'm joined today by David Kelly, who is the CEO of the Natural Diamond Council, formerly known to many of you as the Diamond Producers Association, the DPA. And we're going to have a conversation in which David can effectively introduce you all to the Natural Diamond Council, to its goals and aims and its broad plans to promote natural diamond jewellery sales around the world in the years ahead. We will very much appreciate your questions as well, so please do use the Q&A button during our conversation. I'll keep an eye on those questions as they come in. We will have a Q&A towards the end of our session, which is going to last 50 minutes today, but we may bring some of the questions in during our conversation. So David, welcome. Glad to have you with us today.
Thank you, David. Good to see you.
Good. So let's just kick off. If you could just please introduce the Natural Diamond Council to the viewers today. Can you explain what the main goals of the organisation are?
Yes, so the what was formerly known as the Diamond Producers Association was set up in 2015 by the 7 largest diamond mining companies in the world, and really the mission is fairly clear and fairly unique, and that is that our mission is to drive the desirability of diamonds, and particularly natural diamonds. We have an unusual marketplace. Everyone recalls the wonderful advertising that De Beers did over many years, up until just over a decade ago. And they really set the position for diamonds and drove the desirability and the demand for diamonds. But in the last decade, since that was no longer the situation, so there has been an absence of brands, bodies, etc., whose role is to speak to consumers in that way. So the DPA was set up 5 years ago with that mission in mind. There are other roles that we do as well within the industry, with other industry bodies. But our primary mission is to drive consumer desirability, and that's our role. We have teams in the US, we have teams in Europe, we have a team in Shanghai and a team in Mumbai. So our role is global, and we work with many other partners. We work with retailers, we work with press, we work with influencers, we work with industry bodies, all to build the desirability of this wonderful product category that we have.
And you've repositioned your main message, haven't you? In the period of the DPA, the message was "real is rare," and that message now has been repositioned to "only natural diamonds." Can you explain the "only natural diamonds" message? I mean, it is what's on the tin, as it were, isn't it?
Yes, the best form of advertising and communication is to be very clear and focused, and as you say, does what it says on the tin. So yeah, I mean, with the point of only natural diamonds is it celebrates the uniqueness of what diamonds and natural diamonds stand for. The market that we're competing with are predominantly other luxury goods. It's travel and experience, it's technology, more of which I know we're going to talk later. But it's to celebrate the values of diamonds, and particularly natural diamonds, that are unique. And that's why we tested and researched a number of other lines, but only natural diamonds came out by far the strongest, and that therefore will be our consumer identity for the foreseeable future.
So you are spearheading this organisation. So for the people who are watching today, could you outline a little bit about your background in luxury goods? I know that you work for Watches of Switzerland and Ralph Lauren. Could you sort of describe your experience in the luxury goods sector?
Yes, my last 2 years I was working with the Watches of Switzerland group, which many of you will know as being the UK's largest retailer of luxury watches and jewellery. And over that 2 years, we were expanding into the US with stores, both the purchase of stores, taking on new stores, and also acquired the Mayors Group in Florida. So that was very much a great experience in watch and jewelry retailer, albeit for a relatively short period of time. And then prior to that, I was 15 years with the Ralph Lauren Corporation. The first 10 I was based out of Geneva, ending up with me running marketing and advertising for the European business for Ralph Lauren through a period of very, very rapid expansion in the market. And then I moved to New York 7 years ago to lead the global marketing and advertising for Ralph Lauren. So that included any advertising, any communication, website, social media, really telling the narrative of the Ralph Lauren story all around the world across all the different product categories. So no, I'm very fortunate. I've worked with many wonderful people in my career. I've worked in each case. They've been businesses going through very rapid expansion, very rapid growth, very consumer focused. So I feel blessed to have been in roles that I think position me very well for this role with the NDC.
Yeah, well, you've certainly come in at an amazing time, because these are clearly very difficult and challenging times we're living through during the coronavirus pandemic. In the United States, the world's biggest diamond jewelry market right now, of course, we've got a social unrest as well. What impact will the coronavirus pandemic have on diamond jewelry sales around the world in the near term? And also, what's your longer term view?
Yeah, I mean, I'll come on to the longer term in just a moment. Our role is really to look at the medium to long term, because the role of desirability is something that happens over a period of time. So we are very optimistic about the long term, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But in doing so, I'm very cautious, very sensitive around the challenges in the near term. This industry employs tens of millions of people. I'm guessing that between half and 3/4 of them have been furloughed for some period. And the nature of our industry is that doesn't just affect the individuals, it affects families, it affects communities. So it has been devastating to this industry in the short term. And you know, and I'm very, very respectful of both the coronavirus crisis and the political challenges in the US when many jewelers were hit. And it must be so devastating to see your life's work be taken to pieces in the way that it has been in the last couple of weeks here in the US. So it's in the short term, it's incredibly challenging, and we haven't, you know, the general consensus is there hasn't been a challenge like this since the Great Depression. So that's a big challenge. But in the medium to long term, I'm the biggest optimist in our industry. And maybe because I'm new to the industry, I think diamond jewelry are a wonderful product. We have clearly the consumer sentiment and values coming out of crises such as this are generally in our favor. We believe that there'll be a much greater respect for all things natural. This is the first time in our generation that a natural crisis has caused such devastation, both to people's health, to the economy, to people's livelihoods. So we believe that nature will be a major statement. We believe that there'll be a much more honest conversation around sustainability. Sustainability isn't a badge that you achieve. Sustainability is a path to get better at. And I think the consumer will be much more cynical about people who claim to have the badge of sustainability, but don't, you know, just buying back carbon credits is not sustainability. So we think sustainability and the actions of this industry have been incredible. And again, as someone from outside coming in, I had no idea. We hadn't done that good a job on talking about our sustainability credentials. I think that's important. We think the values of connections, social isolation is something that us humans are not used to. It's been an experience for all of us. And coming out of it, and generally out of all crises, people move away from material goods and favor experiences and emotional connections. And again, coming out of this crisis, particularly as experiences and travel are going to be hit for the foreseeable future. So we think that's very important. We think the idea of goods that will last a lifetime, will have memories. Diamonds and diamond jewelry are the only products that will be in hers or his wardrobe for their lifetime, and maybe on to the next generation as well. So we feel very positively about it. And in fact, just yesterday, I was looking at a great barometer of consumer sentiment is what people are searching for on Google. And May was the first month in the US where year on year, the that diamond jewelry was actually back into positive territory. So it's a great barometer, clearly devastated through March, but actually March and April, but in May, there was a very clear bounce back of consumers looking for diamond jewelry. So we are very positive. I'm very optimistic. I believe passionately in this category. I think it's underperformed over a long period of time. But all that said, it's with the with the footnote to say that it's a devastating time at the moment, and and our thoughts are with everyone that's suffering at the moment.
As we come out of this crisis, then, do you think that diamond jewelry can represent a reassurance in the sentiment of the consumer, and also perhaps a way of celebrating, entering a more positive future?
Yeah, again, there's all sorts of cultural significance in what's happening through this crisis. So again, when times are great, everyone's feeling great, everything is about innovation. But actually what also comes back at the end after a crisis is that people want reassurance of tradition, of values, and jewelry is a great symbol of that. Because it's both it's something that's value, it holds its value, but it also shows the individuality. And so yes, in terms of people wanting to have that reassurance of a product and a product category that is timeless, combined with something that can show their individuality, is something that's unique to us, and it's something we look to celebrate as we come out of the crisis.
So can you, please, David, elaborate on the ways in which the Natural Diamond Council will be promoting natural diamond jewellery around the world? I mean, starting off with your website, for example, it's highly elaborate, highly sophisticated, with many features to it. So could you tell us about the site and direct people to it, and explain how you will be promoting natural diamond jewellery sales around the world?
So the site is naturaldiamonds.com. For anyone that wants to follow along. I mean, this is really born out of a very early realization after I joined between myself and our leadership team. And that is that our role previously had been that of an advertiser. And our role is still as an advertiser. And we will be launching a major campaign globally from September for this year to hit the peak of the season. So we'll still be an advertiser, but the world of communication has changed dramatically over the last decade since the times of the De Beers campaigns. And the challenge is how do you communicate with consumers and create that desirability every day of the year? And to do that, you've got to be incredibly strong in the digital world. And so really what we've set out to achieve, and I think we've done a great job at getting there on it, is to be a publisher, and the most authoritative publisher on the diamond narratives anywhere in the world. We are blessed in our industry by the sheer number of amazing stories that we have to tell, but we didn't really have a platform through which to tell them. There are websites, there's social media out there, but nothing at the scale that we need to tell our stories. So it was a very early realization that we should be to diamond jewelry what Hodinkee is to Swiss watches, what Wine Spectator is in wines, what Architectural Digest is into design, that we should be a highly visible, highly viewed, highly influential digital platform through which to tell these narratives. And then that gives us the base and the authority of which to speak.
And you break down segments, don't you? There are segments within the narrative on the editorial side.
Yes. So first of all, at the macro level, it breaks down between consumer and trade. So within naturaldiamonds.com, you go through the navigation on the left-hand side and you'll see Natural Diamond Council. Or alternatively, you can go there directly by naturaldiamonds.com/council. So on the trade side of it, there's loads of great information for retailers around education, around marketing materials for in-stores. There's information there for press. There's information there on the Assure Diamond Verification Program. So we wanted to build a very, very strong industry website that is the reference for the industry. And then the main hub of it is the consumer website, which features the Only Natural Diamonds logo, identity, etc. And that really that's what gives us the platform to talk about all the different content. And actually, we realized very early on that we've got so much content that we need to actually break that down into what we call content pillars, because you've got to present it in a way that's understandable. So our content pillars include things like Epic Diamonds, which is talking all about the story and the history of diamonds, the amazing diamond stories, the auction houses, the royal collections. So Epic Diamonds kind of is from now looking back the way. Style and innovation is now looking forwards. There's so much amazing innovation in our industry that, again, just doesn't have the platform. And we'll be working with designers, with press. We've just put the trend report on there. To look at the future of diamonds and what's available now and who's doing amazing things in our industry. Inside the world of diamonds is all about the values, the social ethics, where diamonds come from, the sustainability, the communities that are supported by our industry. So that's that category. Hollywood and culture reflects everything that's on the red carpet, because that's clearly highly influential to consumers. And then we have a lot of education on there. So really trying to present, whether it be the 4 C's in a more engaging way with graphics and illustration, or beyond the 4 C's, which is, again, telling the stories behind diamonds, but really making sure that as well as the desirability and the dream we're creating, that consumers further down the shopping funnel looking to buy diamonds and diamond jewelry have a single point to go to that they can, where they can get all the information, really just feel informed and inspired in their purchase.
So that education is aimed essentially at the consumers, is it, rather than the trade, or both, say retailers, or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. So the consumer first on our website, but we also have a lot of information there for trade. We have a lot of on the industry site. We have a lot of educational platforms that are there. We will be working with retailers to offer them our content, because there will be a lot of consumers that go to retailer websites as well as our website. And again, any help that we can give our retailer partners to elevate the experience on the education is important as well. So I think our industry has done a very good job in bricks and mortar for a long period of time. And one of our challenges, one of our opportunities is to really up our game in the digital platforms. That's where consumers are doing most of their research. They're still going into stores to buy predominantly, but they're doing the research online, and we're here to support the industry in helping to elevate our digital presence.
So what will be the main geographical markets in which you'll be advertising, say this year and into next year? And how will TV and social media video advertising feature in those markets?
So in terms of markets, we'll be marketing fairly proportionate to the scale of the market. The US is 50% of the diamond market, so that's why I'm based in the US. But from my accent, you can tell I'm not American. So obviously the US, China, India are important markets. Europe's important to us. So each market is important, and the benefit of digital communication is that you can now reach a global audience without any barriers of geographies. So we are, and that's another reason why we really wanted to focus on the digital. It's where our audience is. We can reach a broad global audience without any issues. When it comes to a main campaign, we will still be using traditional media in the form of TV, maybe some print, maybe some outdoor. We've still got to go through all of those plans. Clearly, the world of advertising and media is changing daily at the moment. So we have high level plans for it. We have budget set aside for it, but we haven't actually gone into the detail of those plans just yet.
But the advertising will be tailor-made to certain features of individual markets, will it? I mean, for example, in India, culturally, the mindset around diamond jewelry purchases may be quite different to, say, in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be, and maybe I'll explain why, David, is that there are generally luxury brands present the high-level communication consistently around the world, such that if you're seeing any luxury brand, whether it be part of the LVMH group or or any of the other major groups, the high-level brand equity is built consistently around the world. But then what you do is you then use the digital platforms to adapt the message culturally to an audience. And I won't get too technical. It's all to do with the shopping funnel. At the very high level, you want consistent, strong image. But as you go through the shopping funnel, so the consumer wants something that is more specific to their culture or their beliefs for it. And that's where digital kicks in. So the campaign will be a global campaign. We are, and will be appropriate for a global audience. But then all the digital platforms is where we'll be adapting the message, telling other messages that are specific to local cultures.
Okay. I'd just like to ask you about the NDC's potential involvement with the trade around the world. I mean, will the Natural Diamond Council be very visible at international trade fairs going forward? I mean, clearly right now we're in a difficult phase in that respect, with so many of them cancelled due to coronavirus pandemic. But in principle, Vicenza is going ahead in September. Bangkok Fair will be going ahead in September as well. Genève in November, and so forth. I mean, will you be laying out a plan to contact some of these big trade fairs and be visible at them?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't defined that yet. I mean, but our primary objective is to talk to consumers, and therefore most of what we do will speak to consumers, and also to engage with anybody else that's speaking to consumers. So retailers, so press, influencers, etc. So we have to look at the role that we have, how best to invest the money to do that job the best we can. We actually have found this platform, the webinars, the Zoom calls, actually to be a very effective communication platform. It's also given more people the chance to ask questions of me directly than maybe you wouldn't be able to do at a trade fair. So actually, we like everyone will have to look into what the future looks like as the world opens up and decide which are the best platforms, whether it be trade fairs, whether it be digital, as to how best to communicate with our partners and with with consumers.
So could you tell us what you see as the main competition, if you like, to natural diamond jewellery in the luxury goods segment?
Yeah, I mean, really, in the broad sense, anything that competes for discretionary expenditure at the price points that we are, which are, I mean, really diamond jewellery, $700-800 and above, so £500 and above, you know, in the UK. So anything that's competing for discretionary expenditure there, particularly that which has a strong emotional thinking behind it. So really the obvious luxury goods like handbags, accessories, etc., particularly in the self-purchasing line. But also even technology with iPhones now over $1,000. I don't know what they are in the UK, but you know, that in itself is a luxury purchase. That's a considered, planned for purchase, and we're competing with that. And clearly, the phone companies have done a wonderful job of expanding their remit beyond just making calls to each other. Experiences and travel. So all of these things are competing with us, and anything in that particular price point. They're all areas where the consumer can make a choice, and it's up to us to say, are we the first choice on that list? That if she has $1,000, $3,000, however much money she's got, how high are we on that list? And whether that's she's purchasing for herself, or she's purchasing a gift, or it's a celebration of a romantic connection, that's what we've got to do. And that's why you know, one of my early recognitions is that we as an industry have to be talking outside the industry. We have to be looking at the opportunities beyond our industry a lot more than any potential threats within the industry.
Do you think that now, given that travel and tourism is so difficult in this period, that there is a short-term market opportunity for natural diamond jewellery in the luxury sphere?
Undoubtedly, it's coming out of the recent, you know, the previous financial crisis. It was, and in 2001, it was clear that people wanted to celebrate connection, wanted to travel, just wanted things with a much stronger emotional connection as opposed to just being material goods. So undoubtedly, for the period of time that travel and to a certain extent experiences are going to be lessened, which it's difficult to see that returning to normal within the next, you know, before the end of 2021. So undoubtedly, and I think there is going to be, you know, sadly, there's going to be a big divide in the world. There's going to be those people that have jobs and feel secure in their jobs, that therefore feel empowered to spend money, and I think they'll want to spend money, and I think diamond jewelry is perfectly placed in their values for that. But at the same time, there are going to be a lot of people who don't have jobs, and that is where and that part of the market is going to be impacted greatly. So again, it's it's a difficult challenge because I look at it optimistically, but it's also recognizing that there's going to be significant hardship for a lot of people around the world going forward.
Yeah. Talking about competing segments of the market to natural diamonds, we have a question in the Q&A from Nikhil Jain, who asks you, how do you deal with the challenge being faced by our industry from lab-grown diamonds? And how do you see the natural diamond industry relative to the lab-grown diamond industry after, say, 5 years?
Well, that's
keep by the way, on the Q&A, everybody.
Yeah. So, Nikhil, that's a great question. Thank you very much. So lab-growns aren't really our focus. They are, we see huge opportunity in natural diamonds, and so lab-growns isn't our focus. Lab-growns will have a place in the world. At the moment, it's very small. I don't know what it'll be in 5 years' time. I can't anticipate what will evolve in terms of pricing of lab-grown. What other usages will be in there outside the diamond, outside the jewelry industry. So I can't really answer the question as to what will be the role of lab growns or where will it be in 5 years' time. But from my perspective, the critical aspect is to make sure that we are growing the natural diamond market. As I said, we have hugely underperformed the luxury market over the last 10 years. We've only grown, I think it's 50% over the last 10 years in the diamond world. The other luxury goods have grown 3.5 times in that same timescale. We should be double the size that we are. And from my perspective, the challenge in the industry is to make sure we're focused on the scale of the opportunity and not on much smaller perceived threats that come to us. We are a unique industry.
Why is that? Why do you think the natural diamond segment didn't grow as fast as other types of luxury goods over the last several years?
Yeah, I mean, there are structural reasons. One of the biggest reasons is that every other luxury market at the kind of price points that we're looking at are dominated by brands. We have wonderful brands at the very high end of the market with the likes of Cartier and Bulgari, Van Cleef, Tiffany to a certain extent. We've got great brands there doing a great communication job with consumers. But because of the infrastructure of our industry, we don't have brands that are doing that role in what I would call the mid-tier. So that's kind of half carat to a carat diamonds. So retailers do a wonderful job of transactional marketing, of managing clients, driving consumption around, you know, holidays, birthdays, engagements. But this market has suffered from the absence of strong emotional, creating the dream. The role that De Beers did up until about 12 years ago is what we're lacking, and brands haven't filled that void. many retailers in our industry will know the Swiss watch industry very well, and they'll know that brands, only brands, dominate that industry, and they invest heavily in the consumer. So we've suffered from that, and when you compare the markets that we want to compete with, whether it be technology or other luxury goods, they are brand dominated with considerable communication platforms to be able to talk from. So that's the main reasons. There's the second big reason is digital. We haven't become as proficient in the world of digital as other industries. That's partly because of our, how we're structured. But these are, I mean, the one thing I would say is these are all within our control. These are, I don't believe, the exciting thing is that these aren't external factors that are governing our success. So what I find very exciting about the opportunity is that these opportunities are within our control. And that if we as an industry choose and unite and become collected behind these, the opportunities, I can only see great things ahead. And as I said, I'll always be the most optimistic in our industry, but I honestly believe that, and no one has yet found a reason to be able to contradict that.
I've got a question from Batsal Shah, who is asking, when do you think, David, the natural diamond market will pick up post-coronavirus? I should just add, with regard to that question, we did a webinar with Rappaport last week with Avi Kravitz, who's their market analyst, and he was saying he believes that in the near term, the diamond market will shrink somewhat directly due to the impact of the global recession. But the recovery will come later, obviously helped by strong messaging. What's your answer to Vatsal's question?
So I think obviously it depends on where in the supply chain, but if we're talking at the retail perspective and consumption, my sense is that as soon as the consumer feels secure in shopping and going back to stores, socializing, that is when we'll start to see the pickup. And we're already seeing that in China. So, and the Chinese markets have brought in incredible technology in terms of testing and ways of proving that you've been tested and you're clear. And the consumer there has come back really quickly because they feel safe and secure in going back to stores. And if anything, there is the industries that have been successful through the crisis have been what I call stay-at-home industries. So anything that is around creating your home office, clothing that you wear at home. I've heard that shirts sell much better than pants because that's the only bit that's seen on Zoom. But actually where the rebound will come when people feel safe will be what I would call going out. And I think our industry is much more in the going out category than the staying in. Yeah. So I'd say it's a difficult question to answer. I'm optimistic. I believe that the scientists are working hard, whether it be on testing or, testing, checking, so I do think that will come back hopefully sooner. And then I think, and say, notwithstanding the challenges of high unemployment and how quickly that comes back, I think the consumer wants to get back to a degree of normality. And certainly here in the US, when you see bars, restaurants opening up, there is a flood of people back to them. If anything, they're struggling to hold people back. The challenge isn't pulling people out. So yeah, end of hopefully fourth quarter, would be my belief on it's going to be different in each market of the world, but I think fourth quarter will be in a much better position.
I was listening to a webinar that the Responsible Jewellery Council gave several days ago, and Stephen Lucier, a senior De Beers executive, said that May was a really good year in China, a good month in China for diamond jewellery sales, and he referred to revenge shopping taking place in China during the month of May. David, if I may move on to one of the key messages I picked up from your presentation to the US market several days ago. The Natural Diamond Council seems to be reaching out proactively to what I would call younger consumers, so-called millennials, and to some degree the Gen Z as well. Could you explain your thinking behind this and what approach you'll be taking to reach out to this, if you like, younger customer base?
Yes, I mean, so first of all, the reason why is that this is a significant market that our industry hasn't done a good job of speaking to, being the predominantly the millennial market. So predominantly early 30s in terms of age. They are the ones that, and you can probably guess that I don't fit in that category, just in case that needs clarification. They are the ones that have been brought up with digital. They're the ones that have been brought up with the choice. They're the ones that have been brought up with a whole different set of values to people of my generation. And they are the people that our industry hasn't spoken to. They're the people that don't remember the De Beers campaigns. So we are missing a generation of people that should be coming into our industry by right. But we've taken it a little bit for granted that what has been a right of ours for for many decades, we've taken away the main tool, which was communication, and we've somewhat expected the business to stay where it is. And of course, with the benefit of hindsight, that was never going to be the case. So it's not really that surprising. So millennials are kind of core to the future opportunities. They are spending all their time on digital, and of digital, they're spending 80 to 90% of their time on mobile. So we've got to create the right language, the right values, the right positioning, and then put it onto the right platforms in order to be able to do that. Sometimes
Gen Z.
Yeah,
I mean, often a lot of the Gen Z consumers probably wouldn't have the disposable income to be buying natural diamond jewellery, but on the other hand, they're the next sort of up and coming market segment. How could you reach out to the Gen Z?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our primary audience is those. We have to apply the affordability factor into it in what we do. But actually talking too much about demographics kind of actually distracts from the digital world. Most people don't behave typically for their age. We all know that different people have got different attitudes to things. So although millennials is specifically a demographic age definition, really the benefit of digital is that we can speak to anyone that has an interest or a passing interest in jewelry. And we're already finding that on our social media platforms, whereas when we started the year, our engagement levels were good, but with a change in our strategy, change in our practices, we're now getting 100 times the engagement levels on our social media platforms. Our objective is to get 30 to 40 times the amount of traffic coming into our website. Our objective is to halve the bounce rate of people that drop off our website. So whilst most people are only looking at the output of what we do, the technical science behind it to make sure that we are reaching tens of millions of people around the world with deep engagement is more important than actually the visible of what people see when they go to the website. So as I said, to Gen Z, we talk less about demographics specifically, just because the digital world allows us to target people much more on attitudes, values, and interest levels in jewelry.
Okay, I'll just ask you one more question, if I may, before we move to the Q&A. And please do keep sending those questions in, everybody. They're greatly appreciated. David, I had a chat this morning with Noura Jamshir, who is the CEO of the Bahrain Institute of Gemstones and Jewellery. Bahrain vigorously promotes natural pearls. I'm just wondering, are you open to the possibility of collaborating with other industry groups where you see potential complementarity, say, for example, between natural diamonds and natural pearls in jewellery, or with platinum for that matter, where platinum is a good fit with natural diamonds? What are your thoughts in terms of potential marketing collaborations to reach out better to the consumer and encourage purchases of diamond jewellery?
Yeah, I mean, we're open to any partnership that aligns with us, aligns with our mission and speaks to the consumer. Personally, I think in the first phase, we've just got to be very, very focused on diamonds. The values of diamonds are really, really exceptional, and we're creating the platforms to be able to talk to those values. And to a certain extent, whilst partnerships are good, it becomes much more difficult to talk about specific values if you're then diluting that and sharing the message with somebody else. So I dare say it's an opportunity in the future. At the moment, we are really, really focused on the values of natural diamonds.
Okay. We have a question from an anonymous attendee who asks, how much potential do you see in the Gulf Middle Eastern market? How can the NDC help in this market? I mean, clearly, the Gulf Middle East has been very badly hit in some respects by the coronavirus crisis. I know the Dubai economy is suffering greatly, for example, in this period. So what are your thoughts on the Gulf Middle East market, which has been quite in the past, a strong component, hasn't it, of the natural diamond jewellery market?
Yeah, and again, I look at everything as opportunity. The Gulf market has been amazing for luxury brands, whether it be the LVMH group, PPR group, the Richemont, the watch brands. It's been a phenomenon and it was actually driving a lot of the growth for a number of years in global luxury. So yes, I mean, the Middle East should be an amazing market for us. It is going to be disproportionately impacted because of travel, because such a huge proportion of their marketplace is based on travel. But anyone that's had the pleasure to travel there, and it's a wonderful place to visit, you've only got to go through some of the amazing malls there and just see the scale of luxury in those markets, and diamond jewelry should have a significant role to play there. So again, I don't know the short-term impact and how long that will last for, but if we're looking long-term, there is plenty of opportunity in that market. Do you have another question, David?
Yes, sorry, I lost you there. I had a connectivity issue. You froze, but then you're back again, so that's great. Yes, there is another question. We have a question from Jignesh Mehta, who asks, does the NDC have any programs to support brands and companies in promoting natural diamonds?
Yes, I mean, ultimately, what we've built is the platforms to be able to talk to consumers, and so the way that the industry can help us is that any stories, any narratives, particularly around innovation, newness, etc., is what we want to use to inspire people. So, in the same way that Hodinkee for Swiss watches does an amazing job of promoting Swiss watch brands, so we've created the platforms to be able to talk to consumers about designers, about brands, about product. The important thing is that we do so in an interesting, informative, and innovative way. So particularly, we will celebrate particularly innovation, design. That's what the consumer. That's what the consumer's interested in. It's what press is interested in. It's what people on social media are interested in. So yeah. So if you think that you have products, brands, stories, narratives that you'd like us to share through our platforms, then please reach out to us, and we'd love to work with you.
Very interesting question from Anjum Cave, who asks, how can you reassure those worried about conspicuous consumption? So meaning now is not the time to be wearing bling, is it? It sort of it's not the mood for that. It's not given the severity of the crisis that we're living through. So how would you reassure people about wearing conspicuous consumption in terms of diamond jewellery?
Yeah, I think I personally, I don't think diamond jewellery is that conspicuous compared with, and I agree, to suddenly be going out and buying new cars, going out and buying heavily logo bags. So I personally think that's a positive for us, that it is more conspicuous. It's much more personal. And as I said, back in March and April, we were very cautious about any communication. We pulled back on just about all of our communication because it wasn't appropriate. It wasn't. People were more worried about livelihoods, about their health, etc. But as I mentioned earlier on, if you look at search terms online, behavior online, you start to see that people are feeling optimistic. and people are wanting to look for and look forward to life after the crisis. So even the fact we launched last week, it was a major consideration for us. Is now the right time to be launching? Should we wait for a period of time? But the sense and a little bit of consumer sentiment feedback was that no, now is the right time. People are actually want rays of hope to be able to look forward to.
Okay, we're just entering our last 5 minutes. So there's a question in the context of Black Lives Matter, I would say, from Pedro Faria. Given that so much of global mining output is from Southern Africa, and given the importance of issues such as beneficiation and sustainability, does the NDC have any plans to work with African producing countries? And if so, what form can that take?
Yeah, I think like everyone in the world, we've got to, on a continual basis, be looking at what we do and how we do it. We believe that diversity in every sense is an important value of what the NDC does. It's an important value of our industry. Like everybody, like sustainability, I'd say you can never say we do it perfectly. Everything you'll see around our website and our communication, I hope has a degree of diversity in what we do. But without a doubt, there's a lot more opportunity in our industry to help underprivileged talent. I think we probably still have a little bit of a perception of elitism in our industry. The wonderful image that was created about diamonds was very elitist, and we probably need to shed that. So to my view on it is that to speak to the right audience, to be proactive and positive on making an impact in the world is what's really important to us. And we didn't issue any statements last week. We went dark on our social media platforms. But now that we're through the launch, it's going to become a big mission to us to say, okay, how do we really make sure that we are giving any talent anywhere in the world the opportunity to shine, irrespective of their backgrounds?
Thank you very much. I must say I'm not able to take every single question today due to time limitations, so I have to curate which questions I take as best I can. So this is our final question from Vahid Ahadnejad from Iran. I know Vahid very well, who is asking, what strategy will NDC likely adopt in view of the fact that there may be diminishing supplies of natural diamonds into the medium and longer terms? I know that the Rio Tinto mine, Argyle in Australia, is set to close over the next year or two, for example, and there are not many new sources of natural diamond mines being found, and that presumably can help underpin prices also of natural diamonds going forward. So what concerns do you have over what may be a tightening supply of natural diamonds in the medium to longer term, and what actions can NDC take to respond to this? Can you encourage, for example, new exploitation, new exploration activities, or get involved in that side of the business in any way?
Not really. I mean, we don't get involved in the supply side of it. Our involvement is demand and driving demand, and basic economics would say that the greater the demand, supply and demand economics would say if demand goes up and supply doesn't, then price goes up. And if price goes up, then maybe things that wouldn't have been profitable at today's prices might be profitable at tomorrow's prices. So inevitably, in any commodity market, supply and demand factors play into it, and the more demand there is, the supply and demand balances out on it. So that's very much within the remit of the mining companies as to what they're opening up and when they open up. Clearly, the challenge that our industry has that other luxury goods doesn't have is the time scale it takes to change supply. It takes a long period of time to discover, to open, and to actually be in production. So that will always be a challenge for us. But what I really hope is that if we can drive the demand up, as I believe we can, then I think we'd all agree it would be a great problem to have.
Great. Well, we've reached our time, everybody. This was a 50-minute webinar. I'd like to thank David very much. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today and communicating the message of the NDC and outlining for us the broad strategies that NDC will be unfolding in the months and years ahead to boost natural diamond jewellery sales around the world. Thank you very much indeed for those who've attended today. If you have questions that you'd like the NDC to respond to in writing, please write to info@jewelleryoutlook.com and we will forward those questions on to Lisa Levinson and David Kelly at the NDC. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining today. Thank you again, David. Stay safe, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.